Well, Kristi, thank you so much for joining me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you here. It's the first time we've got somebody here who's going to talk to us all about being a virtual assistant. But before we get started into all the good stuff and all the amazing tips that you've got to share with us, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and literally what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Henrietta. This is amazing. I'm super excited to be here. So my name is Kristi Monte. I live in Nashville, Tennessee with my boyfriend Addison and our 2 cats. I am a virtual assistant. I work project-based, so I specialize in helping creative service-based entrepreneurs create and automate an unforgettable client experience in a client management system called Dubsado.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started. How did you literally start yourself just being a VA, so to speak?
Yeah, in the summer of 2018, I graduated college actually as a music education student.
Oh,
and I know, super random. So I'm a violinist and I've been a violinist forever. And I had always planned on being a music teacher. But when I graduated college, I kind of had this like entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you want to call it. And I didn't really want to go straight into working 7 to 3, you know, having to make lesson plans and summers off and all that stuff. I just wasn't ready to be a music teacher. And so I decided to basically like take a year off and start a virtual assistant business and do what I could to make money that way. But VA for a day quickly took off. Like I had a menu of services of about 11 things. It's actually kind of strange. When I first started, I had this huge menu. I was doing like everything and anything for everyone, right? And I was super overworked. I was wildly underpaid and I was super stressed, but I knew that being a VA is what I wanted to do. And I was really enjoying some of the work I was doing. So I slowly started like plucking things off the list of the things that I didn't enjoy doing. The whole point behind VA for a day was that it was a project-based model, was that I would come in for a day into somebody's business and help them with whatever they wanted. So I was doing everything from like email inbox cleanup to receipt organization around tax time. Like I was doing copywriting and literally everything under the sun that someone could possibly need help with. But I didn't love all of it. So I removed a lot of the things from the menu of services and I ended up being down to 2 different things, which was setting up people's client management systems, Dubsado, and copywriting. And I'm a really great copywriter, but I also realized that I was writing so much copy for myself. And then around the same time, I was welcomed onto Jasmine Starr's team for Social Curator. And she's got a huge business. And I came on as a copywriter that I was like, if I'm going to be writing a lot of copy for her, and then I'm also writing a lot of stuff for myself, my own website, my own blogs, my own Instagram captions, etc., I would probably need to stop doing copywriting for a lot of other business owners so that I wouldn't get burnt out. And so I decided to like niche down my services to only offer one thing. So it took 6 months to get there, but I finally started offering the Dubsado setups. And now I've really honed in on that. I've really honed in on becoming the go-to Dubsado VA in my space and helping people really get organized in their businesses with a client management system and automating as much as I can using workflows.
That's fantastic. And the thing is, I saw on your website that you are obviously one of the copywriters for Jasmine Starr. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's excellent because I follow her as well. And now I know at least who you are. They're one of the girls who's behind the copywriting. Tell us, it's crazy. You know, sometimes I actually do find that when I meet some other entrepreneurs, other female entrepreneurs, and you start making the connections between everybody, you realize actually how small the world really is. And you know, it's quite amazing actually, the fact that there's so many billions of people on the world, but somehow everybody's got a connection somewhere.
Yeah, that girl boss community.
Exactly, sure. Yes. Now, talk to us about the passion or the motivation behind you becoming a VA. I know you've got a lovely story to tell here, so just go with it and just tell us your story about what was that drive for you to really start becoming a VA.
Well, you know what's funny, Henrietta, is that I actually started because I simply didn't want to be a music teacher. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Sometimes people, you know, feel like it's really bad to say that they started a business because they needed money or they started a business because they were avoiding a 9-to-5. But I'm somebody who really owns that. And it's just like, that's why I started it. I wasn't really passionate about becoming a music teacher. I was already a business owner. So another part of my story is that I had started a few businesses in college. Like I said, I've just got this entrepreneurial spirit, right? So I'd started a few businesses in college, and I really loved business in general, enough to know that I wasn't sure I wanted to be a music teacher.
Yeah.
I moved to Nashville, Tennessee from Virginia, and I'm originally from New Jersey, so I just keep getting further south. But I was moving to Nashville, and I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher, and I knew that I needed to be able to pay rent. So VA for a Day, honestly, was born out of like, it's July 25th, and I need to pay rent on August 1st. Like, how am I going to do this? Because I have $50 in my bank account. Now, although it started, it was a good time. So although, it started out of that, it started out of a scarcity, it started out of just, avoiding going to have a real job, quote unquote. I've since really developed more of a passion for virtual assistant work. And I think that it did come out of working with so many business owners in the beginning, just hustling so hard and being exposed to so many different businesses, that I realized that so many of them have the same problem of being wildly unorganized in their creative business. There's so many creative business owners who start businesses because they like to take photos. They like to paint. They're a good graphic designer, but they don't know how to run a business. They don't understand the back end parts of business. They don't want to do bookkeeping. They don't want to send contracts and remind people to pay their invoices, right? Like, people are creative and they start a business out of that passion, but then they don't have the organizational skills to back it up. And probably a lot of your listeners are nodding along going, yep, because there's so
hands up
many of us. There's so many. And so I had this gift of truly having the right brain. I'm a violinist, like very creative, kind of artsy type, but I'm also extremely type A and very organized. So I had the benefit of the left brain as well. So I was able to relate to creative business owners with the artsy kind of part of my personality, but also be able to help them and say, hey, here are the processes that you need to have outlined in your business. These are the steps that you're missing in your client experience. This is exactly how you should be organizing and automating your business so that you're not working as hard as you are right now. You're not spinning your wheels, and you can make more time for the thing that you actually love doing, the reason why you started your business in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that ties in so well with what you're going to talk to us about today, which is all about how to start your own business as a virtual assistant. Yeah. And I think it is such an important topic to talk about. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say, because like I said, I've got a great audience who's already contacted me asking me about becoming a virtual assistant. And I thought, you know what,
Perfect.
Kristi is the girl for you guys. So if you're listening to this podcast now, Kristi is definitely going to share some amazing tips here with you. So why don't we talk first about the three main steps of becoming a virtual assistant. And the first one in particular is obviously identifying your existing skills. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of virtual assistant mentors will teach you to go out when you want to start a VA business. They'll teach you to go out and learn a bunch of new systems. They'll tell you to learn Asana and Calendly and Dubsado and a million and one other things. I don't really teach my virtual assistant mentorship students to do that. I teach them to look within. What are you good at right now that could benefit a business owner? Chances are, like, everyone has skills already in their arsenal, things that they were really experienced doing that they can use to help a business owner in their business. For example, like I was the editor of my high school newspaper, right? Like I wasn't a journalist, I wasn't a writer. I knew I was in AP English, and I was the editor of my high school newspaper. So when I started my virtual assistant business, I'm thinking about the things that I'm good at. Well, I'm a good copywriter, and I can proofread. Right? So those are things that I already knew how to do. Maybe you are somebody who, in high school or in college, you were always the person that people would ask, like, hey, how do I organize my calendar? Or how do I, people would always ask, like, what are the questions that people have asked you in the past that could potentially benefit a business owner? Everybody has something. So I feel like the first step to starting a virtual assistant business is to identify those current skills, the existing skills that you have right now, and then just honing in on those to be your, like, a premium service that you can offer to another business owner. I don't recommend you do what I did and pick out like 12 things that you do well and putting them all on your website. It's like, I can do this and this and this and this, because what has really made VA for a Day successful over the last year or so is the fact that I had honed in on the Dubsado setup, right?
Yeah.
The fact that I had honed in on one specific service, one specific skill, and became known as the expert in that thing. So once you're going through the different things that you're good at, really pick which one. Like, what is one thing that would really make you happy? What would really light you up if you only did one thing for business owners? Pick that thing. Start with that. Start selling it. Get some testimonials. See how you feel. You can always change it later. But pick one thing in order to become known as an expert in that and become, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I think just from listening to you, I've got kind of like a story as well where I teach or when I talk to my students and I coach them, one of the aspects is also about finding out what your strengths are. And then when you ask somebody what are your strengths, it's like they just hit this blank and they go, oh. And then they're trying to dive and just to come up with some answers. But actually what you need to do is, in order to try and find out what your existing skills are, not just to come up with something, you really need to put some time aside for yourself and just really give it a lot of thought. This is something that you really need to think and dive into. Make a list of things at least, you know, minimum 20 things that you feel you're good at. And if you don't know, go one step further. Ask family members, ask friends what they think your skill sets are, what your strengths are. And then just put them all together on a list of paper and then go through each and every one of them and think, could I do this? Could I do this? Could I do this? And just tick off the ones that you feel is right for you. So don't feel like this initial part, in order for you to start your business as a virtual assistant, we're going to figure out what your skills are. That should not hold you back. That's just a little opening for you to make a start. And whatever skill set you choose, as Kristi is saying, it doesn't have to be a forever skill set. It could be, it's going to be something that's going to start evolving and changing as you're getting more experience and as you're growing. But just don't let that first step really stop you from starting.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree. And the same process I teach my virtual assistant students. I'll say, write down on the list of minimum 10 to 15 things that you're good at. Out of those things, what could be offered as a virtual service? Out of those things, what would you actually enjoy? You're usually down to one or two things at that point. And that's when you can choose which one you actually want to do. And you can always change it later. I love that you said to not get caught up in this step, because it is something that some people will feel overwhelmed with. We're not comfortable tooting our own horn, especially women, right? We're not comfortable saying that we're good at something. And so don't get caught up in it. Just brainstorm, just journal about it, and you'll come up with something for sure.
Yeah. And importantly, give yourself some time and space to do it, okay? Don't think that you're quickly going to sit on a train, or while you're quickly just on a trip here, or while you're doing the grocery shopping, you're going to sit and think of a couple of things. Book some time out in your calendar where you know that this is my time. I'm going to give myself an hour or two where I'm sitting with my cup of tea, or I'm sitting with my pen in my other hand, and now I'm going to go and think about it. So definitely make sure that you put some time aside for yourself to do this, because it is a process that you will have to go through in order to take that first step in becoming a virtual assistant. The other thing that you want to talk to us about, which I think is equally as important, and I find this as well, it's kind of like a stepping stone that is stopping a lot of people, not just in possibly becoming a virtual assistant, but in so many other industries, is how to package and price your services. Tell us a little bit more.
So when you're packaging your virtual assistant services, to me, it's really important to kind of first determine what structure you actually want to package your services in. So I always give my students two different options. The first is to have one premium service. I sell one thing to one person. I do, it comes with, say, 5 or 10 bullet points of stuff, but it's one service and it's one price and it's non-negotiable. That's the first option. The other option is to have 3 different packages. And I specifically say 3, I don't say 5, I don't say 2. There are 3 different packages. Wedding photographers do this super well, okay? Wedding photographers do this super well. If you say to a wedding photographer, hey, what are your packages? They'll almost always tell you that they have 3 packages. One, it's like the 3 little bears, right? Yes. It's like the little one, it's $2,000 and it comes with 4 hours of wedding day coverage and 50 photos, which no one wants. And then there's the middle one that has like 8 hours of wedding day coverage and 500 photos in a complimentary engagement session for $3,000. And then they'll have the big package that comes with engagement and boudoir, and it's like $4,000, and it comes with thousands of photos and unlimited coverage. That's too much. Yeah. The small package is too little. The middle one is just right. They have 3 packages that specifically lead you to choosing the middle one. I recommend virtual assistants do the same thing. If you don't want to have one premium service where you have literally one package, one price, which is what I do, then have 3 different packages, but really you're leading people to pick the middle one. So you have kind of anchors on either end to help people, direct them to what you actually want them to choose.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you're saying that, because it's very psychological as well. And I've heard of this kind of packaging before, and it's really interesting that you're saying that as well, in order to use it for as a virtual assistant. But it's not just for you don't just have to use it for becoming a virtual assistant. You can use it for any other service-based businesses as well.
Absolutely. And I always recommend to people to have like a whole list of say 10 bullet points under your package, whether you do one premium service or you do 3 different ones. Have a whole list of things that it comes with. I think a lot of times we underestimate what our packages come with. A lot of times we'll be like, I am a social media manager and my package comes with 30 days of captions and photos, right? That's what they would list. But I would argue that you can throw in little extra things like 30 days of captions, 30 days of photos, a 30-minute strategy session every single month, a PDF on how to use hashtags, extensive market research. Like, you can really jam-pack that service. These are things that you were probably already going to do anyway, but on our websites, we tend to pare it down and say it's just 30 captions and photos, where you can really beef it up so that it sounds like you want somebody to look at your package and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're giving me all of that for this. Right? You want to jam pack it so much. Don't give them the opportunity to say, $500 a month, that sounds like too much money. You want them to look at that and go, $500 a month, that's it? It comes with all of these bullet points, right? So really pack it in. Think about all of the extra things that you could potentially put into your package they were probably going to do already that you can list on your site and your pricing PDF when you're on a consultation call, to really explain the value of your service. And I think that that's a really, really important part of creating your packages.
The question I have is, and it might be a little bit of a silly question, but this is also something that sometimes pop up. As a virtual assistant, what would your recommendation be for the kind of job that you are doing? Would you charge by the hour, or would you have a literal package that you're offering?
Okay, this is one of my favorite topics. And I think I'm the only person who says this.
Please share.
So I think it's very important when we get into the pricing conversation that people realize that when a business owner is hiring a virtual assistant, they're not paying you for your time. They're paying you to get back theirs. Okay? So you charging by the hour based on what you value your time at is completely irrelevant. It's just irrelevant. It doesn't matter that you think you're worth $25 an hour or $50 an hour. It matters who your ideal client is and how much they value their time, because they're getting 5-10 hours back by hiring you to do that service. Yeah. So my pricing model is, it first starts with, who is your ideal client? Let's just say that your ideal client is like a health coach. I always recommend VAs, pick an ideal client avatar. It doesn't mean you can't work with other people, but pick an ideal client avatar that you're going to be speaking specifically to, as specific as you can possibly get, so that your marketing is really honed in. Once you know who your ideal client is, say it's a health coach, figure out, do some market research, go and figure out how much does a health coach value their time. If you go to a fitness professional's website and you look and see how much they charge for an hour-long consultation on nutrition or an hour-long workout session or whatever they do, right? Look to see how much that costs. Guaranteed it's going to be $100, $150 for the hour. You can also kind of figure in maybe some drive time. You can figure out, see if they have some extra costs that are built in and some things like that. But it's going to be way more than what you were planning on charging each VA. Yeah. The next step to that is, once you know, okay, how much does my ideal client value their time? Then you want to say, all right, I know how much my ideal client values her time. how long would it take my ideal client to do this thing that they're hiring me to do? More than likely, it's going to take them twice as long to write their social media posts if you're a social media manager, do their bookkeeping if you're a bookkeeper, set up their client management system if you're a CRM expert, whatever it is. They're going to take twice as long because they don't have the experience and the knowledge that you do. If you wanted to get really basic, right, you could literally say, okay, my ideal client values her time at $100 an hour, and this service is going to take me 5 hours, but it's probably going to take her 10. So that's $1,000 service. Right? It's very different from the $25 an hour for the 5 hours it would have taken me to set up her website. It's a very different pricing model. So to answer your question, I know I went off on this huge tangent, but to answer your question, I don't totally agree with the hourly model. If you're going to go with the hourly model, I'd recommend maybe doing like a retainer package. I do that with 1 or 2 of my clients where they pay upfront to have hours in my schedule, and I have them in there. They say, they'll pay, but for 5 hours a week, say, they pay that on the first of the month, and whether or not they use those hours, they can, they're basically in charge of that time, right? That's the only time I'm a fan of the hourly model. Other than that, I would put together packages and know exactly what your price is, so that no matter how long it takes you, you're still getting paid and properly compensated.
Yeah, this is so good. I'm so glad that you've clarified that as well. No, it's really fantastic that you just mentioned the difference between the two. And it makes a lot more sense as well, because people kind of have this gray area where if they get a freelancer, if they get a VA, they're thinking, well, how long is it really going to take that person to do this work? I'm paying them by the hour. They could easily charge me for 5 hours work, which is actually taking them an hour. So there's always that kind of like gray area, I find, where there's not always that trust basis between the person who's employed that VA in order to help them out. There's always like that underlying gray area. So I'm glad that you've clarified that. And it makes so much sense as well, rather to, go down that route of charging per hour. It's better to have a package, and also it shows a lot more value, a package, rather than just by the hour. Gosh, I love this. We can go on forever about this. Talk to us a little bit about the last step in starting your business as a virtual assistant, which is all about the marketing, because I think this is one of the biggest steps that you cannot miss out. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So as far as marketing your virtual assistant business goes, there's a lot of different options. The easiest one is probably to go onto Upwork or Fiverr or another freelancing site. But honestly, I've never really found success in that. I feel like those freelancing sites are really, really saturated with like thousands of VAs, and half of them are in, a lot of other countries that the dollar amounts don't even work out. They're charging like $4 an hour. It's like there's a lot of competition, and it's hard to stand out on those things. So that's the easiest one. And hey, like, put it up there. It's free to put your profile up, so you might as well. But I wouldn't rely on that. The next way is really to use Facebook groups. So if you are a virtual assistant that's targeting, that sounds like, if you're a virtual assistant that is, who has the ideal client of like a girl boss, for example, figure out where your ideal client hangs out online. If you're targeting that girl boss, then the girl boss probably hangs out, maybe listens to podcasts like yours, or like Jenna Kutcher's Gold Digger podcast, right? That Facebook group has like 60,000 of your ideal client in it. So you can go into a Facebook group, start engaging with your ideal client that way, and provide value first. If you're going into a Facebook group, I do not recommend spamming people, being like, hey, I just started this business. Hit me up if you need Pinterest marketing. Like, that doesn't usually work. What does work is if somebody asks in the Facebook group, hey, I'm starting a Pinterest account for my business and I don't know where to begin. Anybody have any tips? You giving them the tips, saying, hey, so-and-so, yeah, I absolutely have a couple of tips. With my clients, I teach them to do this. What, step 1, step 2, step 3. That's it. I usually don't even say, like, you can find more information on my website at blah, blah, blah. If you give them enough value, chances are they're going to want to know how they can work with you, or how they can learn more information, So make sure your Facebook profile is like optimized, like put your website in your Facebook profile, like have a nice cover photo, have a nice profile picture, so that if somebody then clicks onto your profile to be like, who is this girl giving me these really awesome tips? They can easily get to your website and see, oh, she's a Pinterest marketing expert, you know? So Facebook groups is a really great way. And then the third way is Instagram. I mean, I find just about all of my clients on Instagram, which sounds absurd, and it still feels crazy to say it, but it literally, like, I find my clients on Instagram. I do a lot of engaging, about 30 minutes of engagement a day, and it's just marked in my calendar, like I do that every morning. I always post on Instagram and engage for 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after. I'll look at ideal hashtags that my ideal client's probably looking at, like hashtag girl boss, hashtag even like photographer. Like my ideal client's photographer. So I will go to the photographer hashtag and just start engaging with them. What I mean by engagement is literally like liking their photo, following them, commenting, and saying like, and not the kind of comments that makes people think that you're a bot, like the actual kind of comments that are like really engaging and saying in the comments like, oh my gosh, I love this photo, this is so amazing, like, you know what I mean, like really engaging comments, or where did you get that sweater, whatever. So I engage my ideal client on Instagram, and just always providing valuable content and optimizing your profile so that you can really demonstrate your expertise via your highlights, your bio, your content, etc., and make it easy for people to work with you. That's my last tip for marketing is it should not be difficult for people to get in touch with you. Like, let me tell you, if it is hard for me to find like what your website is, or if it's hard for me to determine like what you do or how to pay you for it, that's a big mistake that VAs do. A lot of times VAs will put in their bio like organization expert. And I'm like, what do you do? Like, what does that mean? Like, do you organize my wallet, my house, my Google Drive? Like, what are you organizing? So don't use like cute, like little slogans that you made up that your ideal client's going to be like, what does that mean? Use very specific language. Like, I organize your inbox so that you're less stressed, right? That means your ideal client's going to land on it and be like, oh, I understand now. Yes, I have this problem. Or no, I don't have this problem. So yeah, just make it easy for people to work with you.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is fantastic. And tell me a little bit from your point of view as well, as a virtual assistant, do you tend to use Facebook ads as well in order to go out and find some clients?
I actually have never used Facebook ads for my business.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
I never used any ads. So, yeah.
So everything, all of your clients that you've been getting is just through social interaction, going into Facebook groups. Obviously, you've got a fantastic website as well. And by the way, we'll put the website at the bottom of the show notes. It's Coffee with Kristi. So no, I think it's really great. But I'm really fascinated because the majority of the female entrepreneurs that I'm talking to or that I'm interacting with, almost everybody is using Facebook advertising, which is a great platform as well. But I think you're the first one that I've come across that said, no, I don't use it. Everything else is just through basically these three ways of marketing that you've just said.
Yeah, it's all organic. I think that the reason why I've been able to find my ideal client is because I'm so specific with exactly like who I'm looking for and what I do for them, that like people land on my profile and they know that they need what I'm offering, right? It's very specific. I'm not like a general admin VA. I'm not, I don't know, like I'm not selling something that people don't need. Like they get onto my profile and they see like that, you know, VA for a day, I will help you create and automate an unforgettable client experience to save you time and make you more money. People read that and they're like, I probably need that, right? Like it's a very like convincing pitch, which I feel like that it's taken me a long time to get there, but it's eventually gotten there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never used the ads, but I also do like really rely on referrals and reviews and testimonials and things. So at the end of every single service that I do for any of my clients, I ask them straight out. I say, do you have anybody that you know of that would use this service? Chances are wedding photographers know other wedding photographers who need a CRM, right? They're like, and as soon as you ask them, they can think of someone. I think a lot of people make the mistake of like, well, if they liked my service, they'll tell their friends. No, they're not.
You need to ask for it.
You need to ask for it. Yeah. Like people are not just going to like, people are busy, right? Like unless you say specifically like, can you write a review? Do you know of anyone? Then it gets their wheels turning. They're like, oh yeah, I can do this. I also, in that email, I also like say something like, "You were so amazing to work with. I want to work with more clients like you." I mean, it's always customized, but it's usually pretty like along the same lines. And it'll say something like, "I love supporting other like girl bosses, and I know that you do too." So you kind of
Yes.
make them do it. Like, that sounds terrible.
It's a nice, authentic way.
No, but you know what I mean, though? Yeah, it's kind of just like, if you enjoy my services and you would like to support another small business owner, I'd be really grateful if you passed my name along. And they do.
Yeah.
And they do when you ask.
Like, well, as the saying goes, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I just love having this conversation with you, and I think we can definitely keep on going for hours on end. But before we conclude to everything, why don't you tell us a little bit about the business checklist, which is a freebie that you've got available for all the listeners here today. But then apart from just the freebie, you've also got a fantastic program. So talk to us a little bit about and tell us about it, so we can make sure that that the links are in the bottom of the show notes for everybody to get a hold of you on.
Yes, well, if you're considering starting a virtual assistant business, I do have a free new business checklist for anybody who is considering starting a virtual service-based business. And it walks you through the first 10 steps to starting a business. And it does have a corresponding podcast episode as well that you can listen to that really outlines your first 10 steps. So you can get that at coffeewithkristi.com/business. And then I do have a program. If you are definitely serious about becoming a VA, I'd love to help you. It's called Booked Out VA, and it's basically your 90-day business in a box. So I walk you through a step-by-step course that has 12 lessons on how to become a virtual assistant. And what's really unique about the program, honestly, is that it combines not just a course, but it also combines group coaching. So we have 3 group coaching calls over 3 months, as well as one-on-one coaching. So we have 3 one-on-one calls over 3 months as well. So you kind of get that really nice mix of a course, group coaching, a community, and one-on-one support throughout the first 90 days of your VA business.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much as well for offering the freebie and your program here for all the listeners. And like I said, just go to the bottom of the show notes and the links will be there. So by all means, go and get in contact with Kristi. I'm sure there are some of you here who's listening thinking, oh my gosh, this couldn't have happened at a better time, because you're now at that stage where you're thinking about starting your business yourself as a virtual assistant. So by all means, go and reach out to Kristi, and I'm sure she'd love to have you in the program, helping you out getting your business started. Kristi, thank you so much again for taking the time being here with us. Before we get to the end, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I don't think so, Henrietta. This is such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for having me. And I am so excited for everybody to start their virtual assistant businesses, because I truly think it's a gift to business owners all over the world.
Absolutely. Oh, I've got a virtual assistant, so I'll honestly say she's making my life a dream at the moment.
Yes.
And I haven't had one for a long time. I've just recently signed her up, and you know what? It's one of those moments where you go like, oh my gosh, I should have done this sooner. Why didn't I do this sooner? So no, honestly, virtual assistance is a godsend. But thank you so much again for the time being here and sharing all of this with you, with everyone, not with you. But yeah, we'll be in touch very soon again. I'd love to hear from you in the future.
Thank you.